So now let us see the second important part, that is the root. Root is also a very important part of the plant, as like the stem and leaf. We discussed the importance of stem and the leaf. Now let us see the root. Root, it has the main function of anchoring the plant into the soil. So plant, it holds the soil with the help of the root. Okay. Now let us see some interesting facts about the root. Here we have listed the points: importance of the root, monocot and dicot roots, and types of roots, relation between roots and venation. So the importance is that their function is that they anchor the plant. That means they help the plant to fix in the soil. That is one important function, is that roots help the plant to fix in the soil. So the roots, they hold the soil tightly, so by that the plant can stand. If you see the bigger trees, if you see coconut trees, palm trees, even though they are very tall, they can withstand, they can resist the high winds. Even during high winds, the trees, they doesn't fall because their roots, they fix in the soil, they hold the soil so tightly, so firmly. That means they give mechanical support. That is one function. So what is the second function of the roots is they absorb water and minerals from the soil and supply it to the tree. Right. So the water and minerals are absorbed from the soil by the root. Okay. So that is the second function, absorption of water and minerals. These two. So that's the importance of the root. Now what's next is that monocot and dicot roots. That means the rooting pattern of plants is different. So we see that on basing the seed type, we divide the plants into two categories, monocot and dicot. Right. So if you observe the roots of these two, monocot and dicot, you will find some difference. So you don't know, you may not know that what is monocot and dicot. I'll let you know that. You know the seed cotyledons. That means you know the seed structure, seed leaves. So the seed leaves you have studied in your 5th standard, seed leaves are technically called as cotyledons. So some seeds, they have only one seed leaf, some seeds they have two seed leaves, some seeds they have one cotyledon, they are called as monocot. Some seeds they have two cotyledons, they are called as dicot. So what is the example of a dicot? You see, while eating cashew nut, if you see a cashew nut, it's a whole cashew nut. That means the cashew will be like this. This is the nut, cashew nut. If you break open the cashew nut, you will get two cashew halves, two halves like this. You can break open. Just groundnut also in the same way, and Bengal gram also in the same way. If you break open the Bengal gram seed, you will get two equal halves. Those two are two cotyledons. So here you have dicot in the sense two cotyledons. Monocot in the sense one cotyledon. So what are the examples of monocotyledons? Rice, wheat, barley, maize, jowar, all these are monocots. That means all the cereals are monocots. So what are the examples of dicots? Gram, pulses, green gram, black gram, Bengal gram, all these are dicot because they have two cotyledons in their seed. So why we are talking all this about here when you are discussing about the root? So there is a relation. So here in an experiment for an activity we have taken monocot seeds and dicot seeds. What is the example of monocot I told? For example, maize. We have taken maize. And what example I told for dicot? Gram. Bengal gram. We have taken. So where you have taken two small bowls or katoris named as A and B. Now you have taken some wet cotton spread over there, wet cotton. Cotton you sprinkle some water. Now you have taken here maize seeds here, maize. Here you have taken gram. Like this. And you sprinkled water. So on the wet cloth you allowed it for overnight. You soaked the seeds in the wet cotton for the whole night. Then you will find the seeds, they get started sprouting. Sprouts in the sense they start producing small baby root and a small baby shoot. Right? So we have observed that change in both the cases, in both the categories A and B. So what is the change? Change is that the seeds they produced baby root and baby shoot. Now the question is, both, do they look alike or not? The root and shoot, the baby root and baby shoot of the maize, is it exactly like the baby root and baby shoot of the gram? No, it's not. There is a difference. So what kind of difference that we observe if you plant these sprouts in the soil? Right. So when they are very small, you see that the maize it has a very thin root, very thin shoot, whereas the Bengal gram, it's having a thick shoot and a thick root. So the maize, it may produce one or two thin hair-like roots, whereas the gram, it gives out a thick single root. Now we planted both this. So we have taken in a pot A and B. So this is the plant, this is the maize plant, and this is the gram plant. So here you see the root, and here you see the roots. So do you find any difference, or do you find both are same? Yes, we find the difference. See, in case of A, that is the maize plant, the roots are arising from the end of the stem. So how are the roots? The roots are fibrous. The roots are like thin fibers. So many roots arising from single point. All these roots are like thin fibers. So such root system is called as fibrous root system. Fibrous roots. Okay. Now let us look at the other case. In case of the gram, there is a main root. This is the main root called as taproot. Taproot. The taproot, it has got so many root hairs. These are the root hairs. So here, the main one is called as taproot, and the other branches of the root are called lateral roots. Lateral roots. Okay. And there are so many fine hairs which are called as root hairs. So that is the taproot system. Here it is called as taproot system. Here it is called as fibrous root system. There is a difference. Right. So the difference is in the form of the roots. So here we are finding two different types of plants, monocots and dicots. That means the seeds which have one seed leaf or monocot seed with two seed leaves are dicots. If you plant a monocot seed, you will get the roots, fibrous roots. If you plant a dicot seed, you get a root, taproot, lateral roots and root hairs. Okay. So now here we are trying to find out the relation. Is there any connection with the kind of root system and to the type of venation? In the previous part of this lesson, the beginning part of the lesson, when we studied about the leaf, there we have studied the venation of leaves, the pattern of veins, the network of veins, how they are arranged in the leaf, that was studied. Right. So there we found two types of venation. What was that? parallel venation and reticulate venation. Let me draw here. So here we find parallel venation in case of A. In case of B, we see the reticulate venation. So now we are trying to find the connection between the type of venation to the type of rooting. So here we have fibrous roots and taproot. So in case of reticulate venation, we will find taproot system. The plants with leaves that has reticulate venation, such plants will have taproot system. The plants that have parallel venation in their leaves, they have fibrous root system. So here it is parallel and the venation is parallel and the root system is fibrous. So how does this help us? What do you get from this? Say for example, somebody have shown you one plant, just you observed the leaf, you didn't see how the roots are under the soil, because generally we can't see the roots because they are beneath the soil. You can't see the roots with your naked eye unless until you pull out the plant. So just you were shown with the leaf outside. So you have seen the leaf and you could tell that what sort of rooting system that plant has got. Right? You have observed the leaf is having parallel veins. So easily you can say that the roots are fibrous. And you found the leaf is having reticulate venation, you can say that the root system is taproot system. So it's fixed there. So just by having a look at the leaf, surely you can say that what kind of roots it has got under the ground. So not only leaf, if you are given the seeds, by looking at the seeds also you can tell that the seeds with a single seed leaf, single cotyledon, they are monocots, they have fibrous root system and parallel venation. And if you are given with a seed with two seed leaves or two cotyledons, you can say that it is a dicot plant, it has got reticulate venation in the leaves and taproot system in the root. So that's all about the roots of the plants. Now we realized the importance. So here three things we have studied about the root in this particular lesson, that is the importance of root and types of roots and relation between roots and venation. Okay. So in the importance we have seen that the root helps the plant to fix in the soil. That is one function. The second function is it helps in the absorption of water and minerals. See, if you have taken any plant and cut the roots and plant it in the soil, you are watering regularly. Do you think the plant live? In most of the cases it doesn't live. But in some cases the plants have the ability to produce new roots. Of course, in some flowering plants, in flower plants in the gardens, they follow this technique. But in most of the plants, what happens is that just if you take off the root system and simply you put the stem, especially the herbs, it cannot live because it cannot absorb water by the stem from the soil. It needs the help of roots to absorb the soil. That's what happens. Okay. So this is all about the root of the plant. So we studied about the leaf and we studied about the stem and we studied about the root. Now we are going to the next part of the plant, that is the flower. Okay, now look at the next important part, that is the flower. Okay. So the flower has got different parts. We observe the flower for different plants and trees. But the general difference that you observe between the leaf and flower, if you observe the color of leaf of any plant or tree, mostly it is green, right? You may be seeing so many kind of plants, herbs, shrubs, trees around you in the garden, but all of them will be bearing green color leaves. But how about flowers? Do you find the same color, similar shaped or patterned flowers on all the trees and plants? No. Okay. So you find flowers in different colors. Flowers with different fragrances. So there is a lot of variety difference in the flowers, and most important thing is the flowers are very attractive. So why they are so attractive? Why they are differently colored? Why certain flowers they release the sweet fragrance, sweet smell? Do you know the reasons for all these questions? Okay, so let us explore the parts of a flower first, right? And after that I will tell you the answer to the questions that I have put. Meanwhile, we will see what are the various parts of a flower. So flowers, even though they appear in different colors, we find some similar structures in the flowers, right? So the flower, when it is in the form of a bud, you see, when the flower is like a bud, it is covered by some green color leaves. The flower is like a bud, on the surface some green color, which are called as sepals. Sepals. So sepals are the outermost layer or covering of a flower. Sepal. So the sepals, they are covering the colorful ones of the flower, which are the main attraction. So what is the colored part of a flower? Sometimes, of course, they are white in color, sometimes they are red in color, pink in color, orange in color, and number of colors, purple color, blue color likewise. So those are the petals. So petals are the attractive part, petal. Right, sepals, petals. Now inside that there are some interesting structures. What are those? There you find some stick-like, stand-like structures, finger-like projections called as stamens. So this whole thing is called as a stamen. The stamen itself has got two parts. One is, the top part is called as filament, and the bottom one is called as anther. Anther and filament together called as stamens. So this stamen has got two different parts. Each stamen is made up of two parts. Let me draw over here. So this is the filament part of the stamen, filament, and above the filament there you find anther. So together, anther and filament, anther plus filament, together you call it as stamen. Stamens, right? So we find stamens in the plants, in the flower. Of course, some flowers do not contain stamens. Some flowers may contain stamens, right? So we will find one more part in the flowers, that is the pistil. This is called as pistil. The center one, the whole thing is called as a pistil. You can observe a shape here that is just looks like a flower vase. That is the pistil. Again, the pistil has got three distinct parts. This is called as stigma. This is called as style. And this part is called as ovary. Right? So now again in the ovary, just if you cut the ovary with the help of a blade, if you make a thin section and see that what is there inside, you can find small ovules. So a flower, it consists of sepals, petals, stamens, pistil. It's a typical flower. That means I have drawn a flower which is having all the parts. But practically in general, some flowers may not have stamens. They have only pistil, petals, sepals. Some flowers may not have pistils. They have only stamens, petals, sepals. But some flowers, they may have all the things. like stamens, pistil, petals and sepals. Right. So, here we have seen the different parts of the flower. Here we are not going to mention the functions of these parts because that you are going to learn in your higher classes. Right. Here just we are studying the anatomy. Just we are studying the cross section of a flower. What is there inside? Right. So here if you open the flower, that means if you pluck some petals, you can see these parts, but you cannot see the ovules because they are embedded inside the ovary. So how do you find the ovules? That you need to perform an activity. But here you must be taking the caution that you have to work with a fine blade. So you cannot do that on your own. Take the help, assistance of any elders or teachers. Let it be a teacher demonstration. Your teacher will dissect that. She'll cut the ovary into two halves with the help of a fine sharp blade. So when it is cut, it's height wise. That means vertical section. So inside you can see so many ovules. Right. So you know one fact, the fruits they develop from the flowers. That means this flower, after some time it turns into a fruit. But which part of this flower becomes the fruit? Do you know? Is it the sepals or the petals or stamens or pistil? Yes, the answer is the pistil. So the pistil, it grows up in size and it becomes the fruit. Then you have some seeds in the fruit. Which parts become the seeds in the fruit? So the ovary becomes the fruit, the ovules they turn into seeds. So when you eat a fruit, the pips or the seeds that you are throwing out, those are the ovules. The fleshy part that you are eating is the ovary of a flower, right? So the flowers, they change into fruits. That's a big story. How a flower changes to a fruit, it's a big story. So when you study that story in your higher classes 7 and 8, then you will understand the function of each and every part of this flower. So I told you that I'll give answers to the questions why flowers they have colorful petals and why they have sweet fragrance. So that is, you know that the flowers, they need the help of insects to turn into fruits. So flowers, to attract the insects, they have colorful petals and they have good fragrance, nice sweet smell to attract the insects. So now here we forgot to mention about one important part. That is, you see that all the parts of the flower, they are arranged. Here they are connected and it is held by a stalk called as peduncle. So this is the one on which all these parts are attached to that. Right, children? So we have seen the importance of different parts, the functioning as well as the structure of different parts of the plant. We began with the stem, leaf, root and flowers, right? So in the higher classes, you study about the other parts like fruits and buds of the plant. Okay. So here we have gone through the different parts and their function. So we understood so many things about the plant and its functioning. That is the inner structure, the working of the plant, in which you have learned different points about the leaf, roots, stem and flower.